Call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge, and Don, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody's getting better. There's no common between those two. That's your opinion. It's a fact.
Yeah, I felt like you were looking over my shoulder.
Correct?
I hope so.
I said, one nation under God.
Roll call, please.
Bruner.
Here.
Chittick.
Here.
Farnham.
Here.
Lorenzen.
Here.
Luddington.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Voigt.
He looks like one of the G men.
Okay.
Is he Patrick?
Pull that rid of. Let Derek have a seat. There you Derek. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the December 13th, 2017 regular meeting. Is there a second, Randy? Any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Passed. Claims against the county. Is there any questions on the claims that you've reviewed? Hearing no questions, I need a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it then. You got him slow to that. You want to say for that?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Passed. County board member claims. Any questions on that? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve claims.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Time for public comment. Hearing none, we'll move on to highway resolutions. The first one is a resolution to appropriate aid from the county bridge fund to substantially assist in the expense of improving drainage for the South Fork Homestead Farm Access Project in Sims Township. Aaron, do you have any comments?
We talked about that Monday, 50/50 with our percentage being equipment and labor to do the drainage structures and the ditching on the South Fork Homestead project. With Sims, they're petitioning the board for $15,000, half of 30, it's an estimate. And the application for the USDA grant is due February 28th. So
Okay.
we did a score. USDA told us we needed to bump our score up a little bit to be more competitive, and this is probably having the right of way acquired and some of the drainage work done prior to the ask is something I think that may help our score, may help Sims' score.
All right.
So the Sims Township's asking the board to appropriate $15,000 of CATV dollars. You guys will be appropriating that through labor and equipment to put some drainage improvements on that piece of roadway.
Anybody have any questions? Can I have a motion to accept this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Bruner.
Yes.
Chittick.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
Luddington.
Yes.
And Patrick.
Yes.
5.
Okay. And the second highway is file a executed intergovernmental agreement with Young America Township and Prairie Township for snow removal and ice control.
Housekeeping, you guys approved entering into that agreement last month, and now we have signatures from the other side. We need to file that agreement. Those two agreements for remote snow and ice control.
Okay. Do I have a motion to put that on file?
So moved.
Second? Andy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Passes. Next item is to approve an ordinance to adopt the policy prohibiting sexual harassment. Do you have
Yeah.
anything like that?
We discussed this Monday morning at our study session, and since then, I have a little more information for you gentlemen. I was asked to contact HRC to see if they would be interested in assisting us with process steps of the alleged victim, who to contact. Basically the policies that we've looked at that have been given to us as samples from the various county board member associations, which were drafted by attorneys. The first two steps say that the alleged victim should have direct contact with the offender. And then next, contact the direct supervisor. All of the sample policies address that. From there, it differs. So, we talked about a third party, an outside point of contact. I contacted Ken, we had a nice visit. HRC is willing to assist us in any way that we need. I thought that was great. However, the state's attorney didn't seem to think so. And the reason why is because there is no authority with any third party, outside party, to enact discipline, penalties, that type of thing. He thought it should be handled amongst ourselves. So that throws the third party thought out.
I disagree with that. I mean, there are ways to mitigate that as far as the authority of parties involved. The third party would be basically the point of contact, and we can branch from there. So if the overall reason we're doing this, which it absolutely is the case, is to protect an individual from any kind of sexual harassment, then the best thing we can do is have that third party that is not involved in their, sorry for the chain of command, right? So I think we need to focus on that issue, and I think there's a way around it.
Well, thank you for that. And Ken and I obviously agreed that with a formal legal agreement between both parties, spelling out the duties and responsibilities, I thought that was the way forward. But evidently,
Third party's not be able to make a decision on anything. They can make a recommendation to the
yeah,
board or something.
and really, it's more to assist that victim on the process.
What if the
It has nothing to do with
party's,
counseling.
personal friend of one of the, the people who are complaining? Then what do you do?
I mean,
That's always a problem in a
It's
county the
just-
size
it's
of
just a
Edgar.
question.
Yeah.
It's just a question.
sure. I think that is a less likely scenario
Probably.
than having to have the victim be in the chain of what they're supposed to report to per this document, or per the rough draft. So, and that's where you get in problems, that's where you see it most often, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because the problem we've looked at, for an example, if Terry wants to file a complaint against Doggy, where does she go? That's,
But she
Yeah.
can't.
Now, let me clarify something here that may help. So what I did yesterday was I took the draft and I redrafted it so that step one is direct, number two is immediate supervisor, number three is next level of supervision, and then there's a provision in there that says, however, the employee may go directly to some other person, and in the language, I put the county board representative, how do I word that? We have an offices county offices committee representative. That's one of our committee people. And I said that representative or his or her designee. And then that would be the avenue to answer your question, John. Hypothetically, if Terry had an issue, she would bypass me and go to a member of the board. So that's how that would play out. Now, keep in mind, again, just so we can talk about it, the law says that we have to have this in place by January the 15th. Now, we already have a policy. It does need updating. So, and I'm not saying we need to hurry up and pass something just for the sake of the law, because we want to get it right. But that is out there, just to be aware of.
So we have something in place now, so
Absolutely.
we're covered as far as having to have something in place.
Well,
by 15.
Hadn't been adopted.
now, the harassment policies, the laws have changed. They've amended that, they've added a lot to the existing law. And our old policy doesn't address whistleblowers, protection, electronic forms, sexting, internet, those types of things. It also imposes penalties. So the new law, it has expanded all of that. And so we are in need of an update, but we do have something in place.
I would prefer to, you say this is the first time I've seen this and don't have a chance to read through it, and I think there's some things that we can work out. Is it possible to table this until the next county board meeting? So we'll discuss
Absolutely.
during the next study session and have something refined by the following study session. So I think this is worth, hopefully it never happens, but I'd like to have it done right the first time if it does. And I'm less concerned about something coming up that we're not in compliance by the 15th.
Sure.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Don?
Your first thought as far as going to a third party also makes sense in the respect that, and I'm not being the devil's advocate here, I'm just saying, August mentioned that going to the next level of supervision, don't take this the wrong way, but the county board has no supervision over elected officials, except on budget appropriations. Except maybe in Augie's case, because Augie is kind of in that scenario, he is the clerk of the county board. Is that one of your?
I am the clerk of the county board.
Yeah, so there might be a little bit of vague supervisory for the, yeah, okay, anyway. I'm just saying
I hear what you're saying.
and I think this is wonderful, but I just don't want us to start going down the wrong road and you guys be a level of a supervision and authority when you really don't have the teeth to fill that position. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
And Don, you're right, but what happens is, see, elected officials are not employees of the county. We're employees of the people. But yet we have the authority, elected officials have the authority to hire and fire employees in their own department. So we're a unique critter, if you will, in that our organization is very linear, and there's just no authority, no chain of command going up like in the corporate world. And we're not big enough to have a HR department, so we can figure it out. We just need to figure it out.
Well, and I don't know how those things are written, but I'd like to think that if an elected official did something particularly heinous, there would be a way to remove him, he or she, from office.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but I think it's a harder thing than what you think. I think it's just the people won't vote for him again.
Right.
That's why Congress pays them off.
And when it comes to that, that would be a venue that the county board could assist in as far as if there was an issue, if those charges or those allegations were brought to the county board, and after research, we deemed that those were valid. After reaching out to the elected official, if that wasn't satisfaction in a public venue, we could censor that individual and make well known what had happened, and that would be outside of whatever, legal means we have, which sounds very difficult. That would be probably maybe the next most effective way to deal with it. So, and I said, for me, the biggest piece of this is why I believe we need a third party is the most likely scenario is it's someone superior or someone that works in that same shop, and there's always those things and that come up that make people not want to report these things. They want them to come out if something is done improperly. So that third party is a conduit for that. And I said in the study session, I mentioned that's how we did it, in the squadron or the battalion, there was a uniformed victim advocate that was outside, that it was their sole responsibility. They reported directly to the CO. So, and I think that was a really good program, so.
Well, I think the third party, as long as they start out with a sense of neutrality, meaning you're there for assistance, guidance, but in no way should that third party be saying, you need to go.
Right, right.
If the only thing they can say is a suggestion like, you might want to get an attorney involved or seek, or have some other, but I just don't want, I am all for this, that we move forward on this, but I just don't want us to get up on the wrong foot here.
If I could just maybe wrap up what I have to say. If everything that we've talked about, we go to the next paragraph, says, I'm paraphrasing, says, however, the employee may go directly to the state and the federal authorities or agencies, EEOC, Illinois Department of Natural or Human Resources. So we're talking about inside, and rightfully so, but there's a chance that they might bypass the county altogether and go to the federal level. So, for whatever that's worth.
I'd say ideally, we would want all of our employees to feel comfortable enough that their first step would be to whatever we set up here, right? So if we throw together something that no one has confidence in, and their first move is to call the state, the Attorney General of Illinois or whatever that is, that's the less than ideal scenario.
Absolutely.
So is that the right thing to do, to move the table?
Yeah, I agree.
So moved.
Motion to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, we'll table that and have some further discussion at our next meeting and have a chance to review this a little closer. Okay, next item is a resolution to appoint Mark Gilbert trustee of Shiloh Special Drainage District of Edgar County and acceptance of his oath and bond. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Andy? Any discussion on the resolution?
About the third time we've appointed him, isn't it?
Seemed like it's been quite a bit, but I think
Yeah, he
he was
filled out
appointed
his
to fill his
term and all
father's
that,
and
yeah.
back and forth, yes.
No, I understand.
Okay, roll call, please.
Brunner,
Yes.
Chittick,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Luddington, and Patrick.
Yes.
Next item is a resolution from Joseph E. Meyer, County Tax Agent, authorizing chairman to execute deed of conveyance of the following: the ABW auction parcel and Laura Turner and William Turner parcel. Need a resolution to pass these items.
This is pretty standard stuff. We do it almost every meeting, so it's not much money, but they're going back on the tax rolls. But I'm open for questions.
Motion?
Second.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, John and Andy.
Thank you.
I have a question. Maybe it's not appropriate time, but the property over on Eaves and Woods, did that come up on the tax?
Can-
I can't ask that.
you can, but it's not pertinent to this one right here, but you can, we can certainly
I
talk
just
about it.
talked
So, let's get
tax,
voted.
So I
Yeah.
just wondered, so,
Yeah,
Roll call, please.
all right. Bruner,
yes,
Chick,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Ludwigson,
yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
5-0.
Okay. Go ahead with your question, Mr. Brenner.
The property on Eads and Woods that has the tree on top of the house, will that come up on the delinquent tax roll this year? Or do you know? I heard it would, and there's a lady that wants to buy the property, so I just wondered, to get it cleaned up. It's really a mess. Nobody knows.
I'm thinking that the taxes got paid on them,
Oh, okay.
and even if they don't get paid, it still has to go through that 2.5, 3 year.
I think this is third year, from what I understand.
Oh, it has gone through the,
That's what I think. That's
see,
why
I
I heard
don't,
it.
I don't, I
I
don't
just
know
wondered.
off the top of my head without looking at a report.
Could you do some research on that, Mr. Brenner?
But if it's not gone the full 2 or 3 years of time where they haven't been redeemed, they just have to approach the owner and try to buy it straight from the owner, and the redemption is part of the agreement.
Well, they can't find the owner, that's the problem on that. So.
Yeah, well,
And if nobody wants it, you know, then it goes to
I know,
Joseph Meyer, and that's what this is.
I know somebody wants it. So.
Well, that would be probably between the owner and the prospective buyer at this point.
I just
at this
wondered.
point, yeah.
Do some research on that, Don, and get back with him.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is accept the filing of administrative order reappointing Martha Irwin as jury commissioner.
Do we do both those parcels at once? Or did I miss
Yeah,
it?
well, we did.
Yes. We need to
Just
file this administrative order of reappointing Martha. Do I have a motion? Andy, second by John. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes. Okay, officer reports. Don, do you have anything for us today?
Boy, do I. Okay. We're aware of the changes that the comptroller's office is demanding now. Actually, the statute was in effect for years, but now they're starting to require that annual financial reports be submitted on an accrual basis versus cash or modified cash. Having said that, our auditor, myself, and Jeff Voigt went to Springfield here a month ago, whatever, for a discussion, and they're starting to feel the need to turn it into more of a transition versus shove it down your throat, for lack of better words, because that's what I feel like they're doing. So they're just basically still getting some feedback, and they actually called me up one day, the lady that was there, and I was really surprised that she did, but she told me that what they were doing, and they were going to get a committee up and do some more discussing, and that they were leaning towards the transition process. Anyway, back to good old Edgar County. At this point in time, we have to abide by what has been put out there, and they do have the statute behind them to do it. So it's the law, here we go. This report I gave you, because of this, you'll see that we got sales tax, supplemental sales tax, and personal property tax. But it ain't in the bank, folks. They just submitted the voucher, and it's basically guaranteed as a scheduled payment to us. So, because of this accrual system, we have to recognize the commitment, the recognition of it, whatever you want to call it, of this money, and call it a receivable. At the end of November, because of some journal entries I've been doing to recognize these receivables, as of right now, November 30th, the state payments that are owed to us, $203,000 in even numbers. Now, around half of that is probation related, the other half is payments that we normally receive the very next month, sales tax and what have you. Right at this very given moment, in receivables, state payment receivables, we are at $137,000. 106 of it, of course, is probation related. The other money is some of this that I've just told you about and things like that. They're probably gonna declare, they're gonna voucher the income tax, and I'll have to receipt that in as a receivable. I understand what they're doing. The accrual basis, to me, is more beneficial to the big corporate world and private industry to show a better picture of what you have out there, financial ins and outs, and what have you, liabilities. But at this government level, I hope that we all have the attitude that we're doing the best we can. We're penny pinching. Sometimes we get smacked in the face with an expense that we can't do anything about, but we do it. And I'm just thinking this is really misleading us, but we have no choice. So this other report, that will always be based on real cash flow. It will never be affected by the accrual part of it. This, however, from this point on, will have some kind of accrual impact.
So this is an in-house document, basically.
Yeah, that is just something, so you guys know how much money's in the bank. That's what it is. Now, moving on to fellow department heads, officials. I was told last week that I need to start doing all these journal entries. I've been working some on weekends, coming in at night. I'll be working probably this 3-day weekend, trying to get some of these numbers chiseled in stone. So I really need that piece of paper I asked you folks to kind of do at that meeting we had in November, where if you knew for a fact that anything we paid in November was for December, we have to recognize that as a prepaid expense, a prepaid situation as an asset. If we, and then the other way around, if you knew of some money that is coming in, whether it be grant money, guaranteed grant money, payments from customers for services that you provide, copying, whatever, need to have those numbers, because that's what it's all about. Somebody comes in and you give them $20 worth of copies, they owe you $20. We have to recognize it then as a receivable. Sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's the way it is. Now, any questions? I'm going to be going around, hopefully the next 2 days. Pam went home with a migraine today, so hopefully tomorrow or Friday I'm going to be bending your ear and trying to get some. Who has Pitney Bowes machines? Now, of course, I'm taking care of ours in our office. But any postage that was on your machine as of November 30th, sitting on your machine to be used, is considered an asset. It's just as good as money. I have to be able to account for that. I remember when I started in 2006, the auditors actually counted postage stamps in my office because it's money. Okay, now, any questions? And
I have a comment.
okay,
Are we on the bad list, the highway department, with the new accounting system?
I don't.
Not yet.
I've not been told of anything.
So the board's aware, I don't know how this was even gonna work, so we have 9110s, then 9150s, and sometimes we wait 6 months to get paid. As you all are aware, sometimes we get promised grants and then don't get them. So, all I'm doing is laying some groundwork here. If I come to you guys and ask you for a 9110 XYZ project next year, 5 years from now, I guess, and I ask the board, and this is process, this is IDOT process, ask you for, are you willing to spend $100,000 on XYZ road? And you say yes, that goes over the IDOT and they sign it. So basically, $100,000 has been appropriated. Well, over, let's say it's a 5-year project, 2 years later, we spend 25,000 of it on engineering. Well, then you submit through the board a 9150 asking for the actual expenditure of whatever I said, $25,000. And more times than not, it could be 4 or 5 months before you see that money. So we're going to continue. One of our best traits, in my opinion, is, and Andy, you can remember this, is we have actual cash accounting. And we've actually been in trouble before because we've shown, which used to be the style, you know, if we're getting, the day I walked in the county, if we're getting $300,000 in MFT, we'd ask for 600,000 approval to spend 600,000, because instead of getting 500 tons of rock, you might get 1,000 tons of rock. Instead of getting 300 foot of pipe, you might get 1,000 foot of pipe. So this works directly against the thread, what we've been taught. It goes against the grain. You want to get permission to spend, you want to make sure you get plenty of permission to spend plenty. So it's such that if you do go $10 over, that you haven't spent money that you didn't have permission for. And when the rubber hit the road, and there actually got to be some questions about, well, here's what you're shown as having spent, and then we're able to say, no, this is what we have spent.
This process, is it basically a running year, or is it basically an open calendar? Because that would be the first
Good
question.
point.
Yeah, we are,
Tough. It's tough.
we started this most recent fiscal year, what we would call fiscal year 17, on the modified cash basis like we always do. Then they started sending the letters out spring or summer that we're going to have to do it, submit it on an accrual basis. Well, it's kind of hard to shift gears,
Very hard.
a hard 90 to the left or whatever. It's not working. So our auditors, yes, they are performing a service for us, but they are also there to listen to us and make recommendations. Even their affiliation is upset about this. I shouldn't say upset. They're scratching their heads going, this is a bigger thing than what, but they are basically saying, we need to, whatever report we turn in as of November 30th, it needs to be on the accrual basis, meaning recognize receivables and payables at that instant in time. What we did earlier in the year doesn't really matter because none of that's really ever, it may be reflected in big numbers within the report, but it's not itemized. Like this is what happened in January. It's just more of a summary, if that makes sense. So our software has the capability of going full accrual. I've already spoken to them about that. And they said, if you guys need to do that, just let us know. Well, I don't know that we're going to go full accrual because,
You never go full accrual.
yeah, it looks good on paper that you say, oh, we're going accrual, but you know, on a county level, we're always going to be doing that, being able to write a check within 24 hours to pay for something. It's just the way it is. And so I don't know. All I know is we're just to make the best effort we can so that the numbers on that annual financial report is based on accrual, that it shows receivables and payables. I guarantee if we turn something in that does not have receivables and payables on it, they've already told us they will not accept it until it is right. So anyway, but they won't penalize us. They have said that. They won't accept it. They'll slap our hand, but they won't penalize us.
So that's the near term. So assuming that they continue to think this is a good idea, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future, does that change as far as generalizations or things in the past or things well into the future, and only itemize specifics during the course of a fiscal year?
Well-
Or don't know?
I'm prepared to go to do whatever needs to be done, meaning I can do it, and I have been doing it, and I understand it. But it is, to me, it's almost like double entry here. And then when we really get the money in, then I have to do a receivable and offset the revenue. So it's, or put it in cash, I'm sorry, cash and receivable. And so I'm basically doing twice the computer work.
Almost 2 sets of books.
Yes.
And you almost,
Shame on you.
That's always good.
Yeah, that,
Well,
but you're right.
but it only makes sense what you're saying. You gotta say, this is what we got, but we didn't get it, but this is what we got.
Right, yeah,
It's like writing a bad check.
That's just like,
Okay, I want clarification. We're paying bills right now for service dates back in November.
then that means, since you know those amounts, you need to let me know those amounts, and then on November 30th, I recognize that I know, Terry, this
For
is,
everybody? I mean, this is in all departments. I'm talking like your utility bills. I mean, I don't think I should have to do it for everybody.
oh, I don't know that,
But there's bills on here for November.
that means that on November 30th, we had a liability sitting
Yes.
there.
And
But I don't-
we billed last July, and we haven't got the money. So, I mean,
Do these department heads understand that, I guess,
very
is
much
what I'm
understand it,
saying?
it's ridiculous.
I-
It doesn't work. It's 2 sets of books, and we don't run 2 sets of books, but we're gonna
There,
have to.
I think there'll be different levels of understanding.
I'm just trying to clarify that.
Yes, okay, one of the things I recognized on mine was I've got a post office box for the county. We pay $84 a year for that box. It's good from January through December. Guess what? The end of November, I have to show that I have a prepaid $7 as an asset that I will then turn to expense December 1st. But you understand what I'm saying, right, Derek? Now, I realize we're talking small numbers, but all these smaller numbers add up, and that's, this makes sense for the financial stability of a business. When people are, for the stockholders and whatever okay, yeah, hey, great, we got all this money in the bank, but how much do we owe over here? Well, we as a government agency, we try to pay our bills on time as much as possible. It's not like we even took care of our IMRF underfunded, knocked it out of the park. We're done with it. Thank goodness, or I would have to put that on there.
Well, that's an interesting question. Would we have been able to do that if we were full up in the accrual system? Would that have caused accounting issues?
Well-
Or would have not looked good to the average citizen looking at an accrual-based book, saying, why would you do this, right?
Just the impact, if we were going by our normal, what we've always done, it would show the general fund at a negative 652. But now that I have these receivables that I'm recognizing, we're down in the negative $449,000 range on general fund. That's better than we've had for years. But it's all because of this accrual angle, factor.
Money you don't have.
Well, are we better off? I don't think so, because the money's not in the bank.
Well, we kind of asked the questions, is this beneficial? We had issues from, we've got past debt that have been able to, we kind of brushed over it, and then it kind of came to light when it's like, oh my God, it's $700,000, right? And so I asked that question at one point, and it kind of was led to believe, or at least I understood it, that this may help with that issue. So I was like, well, that's good, that's a good thing, right? But everything I've heard, and this is all stuff that we didn't really talk about before. Maybe it doesn't matter. Little Edgar County saying something to the state like this is stupid is not going to get very far. But, yeah, I don't
Well, it seems to me the biggest problem with the accrual system is the fact that the state doesn't pay their money in a timely fashion,
Yeah,
which
I can
has been a problem for the
Yeah,
county
yeah,
for
exactly.
however many years anyway, so, I
Or may
mean,
not, or may not.
Or may not.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Or may not in some situations.
yeah, so, I mean, in some ways, it's the same problem we've been fighting for 3 years, it's just now becoming an accounting issue.
And from what I understand, the changing of the guard in the comptroller's office is where this, from what we understood at that meeting, Susan, whatever her name is, Susan the comptroller,
Catch it.
coming into office, did the right thing. She wanted to understand the office, and she reviewed all the statutes and said, whoa, it's time to get this right. Well, I've been doing this for 11 years, and we're not the only county. Trust me, there was a lot of people at the meeting that just were not happy, but
Well,
for 11 years, we've been doing it this way, and it works out fine.
we just laughed about that, and as my not yet fully caffeinated brain is chewing through that. That actually makes the state look better from,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
that's,
the county saying, well, hey, everything looks
They
good.
got their money.
Yeah,
Keep
We
an
haven't
eye
given it to them yet, but they got it.
I see now.
Use what
Yeah.
they did, how we use the money.
So I don't know if Susan was coached, you
Susan
know?
the comptroller?
Yeah, if she was, after hours, they were drinking at a table and said, hey, Susan, have you reviewed the statutes? You know, I don't know. I don't know what brought this about. I just, my gut tells me it wasn't just Susan.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, if we're following the letter of the law, which we have to do, it sounds like we have a way to make this work, as painful as the actual accounting, which falls on your shoulders, of course. But I feel like we can proceed as usual with how we've done stuff because it's worked. And so if that means that we have internal sheets that we know that is the old form of accounting that keeps us, you know, on the straight and narrow and gives us a real idea of what cash is sitting there, and we can continue with our projects and project and all that, then so be it. You know, and if, you know, we'll follow the letter of the law, and yes, sir, and, you know, that's all we
Well,
can
yes.
do. And most likely in about 2 or 3 years, it'll turn back around and we'll go the other way, so.
We may get our money, then.
Agreed.
Yeah, Don, do you need, when's the auditor?
Well, that's just it. I'm almost at the point where they usually show up around, right after the Martin Luther King holiday. I think I'm just gonna tell them, you need to file an extension just because it doesn't cost anything to file an extension, because the AFR is due with it by 180 days after the close of the fiscal year, so it's usually at the end of May. Well, we barely squeaked by, and we've even been borderline late a week before. So I'm gonna recommend that they at least put in for the extension. That way, not so that we keep procrastinating, but just so we don't have that breathing down our neck the end of May, and let them schedule to come in here. I hope they don't already have it on their calendar, but it'd be nice if they'd wait till the first week of February or something, so that myself and some of my fellow department heads can get a better.
Right. So you're gonna contact them and see if you can put that off and like some of these loose ends
Yeah,
and talk with,
Of course, I'm gonna make this sound worse than what it is in some respects, because call it the spike factor, I just don't like it. But I think after we get through this, and everybody kind of understands it, we can start looking ahead and start, as November shows up, we're kind of all on the same page. For instance, one other thing, this payroll that hit the first few days of December was for a pay period of 9 days in fiscal year 17 and 1 day. And the auditor said, what you can do there is put as a payable 90% of it, 9 out of 10 days, make it just put 90% times whatever amount the payroll was, they gave me that authority. I don't have to do it, you know, be looking at pennies. But still, it's just, there's another aspect you have to think about. We paid everybody in December for work they did in November, so it was a payable at the end of November.
Any other questions of Don on this?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
That clears everything up.
I'm sorry, it's so lengthy, but
Aaron, did you have anything else? Angie?
Just that I filled my position of deputy clerk that was open, and it's a girl from Chrisman, and she's doing a really good job, she's a hard worker.
Good people up
She's been in.
Kristen? Did you say Kristen?
Let's see, January 1, we're mandatory e-file for civil filings now. Ross finally got scanner set up on our counter, so if anybody comes in and has to file something, we're there to assist. Oh, and he added links on the website to JUDC and to the standardized state-approved forms for filing. I think that's about it.
Dina?
Ladies first.
Big and smooth. We got Paris reassessment complete. If I had known how to do a cartwheel, I would have done that. We got it done. We
It's an
have had
insurance issue, don't do that.
the last few weeks, we have been finalizing calculations, tweaking everything. Now we're back into the mode of feeling the conversion pains. They're trying to figure out how to get our drawings and all the amenities of a home out of the system that we have and into the new system. We've got conversion issues trying to get our farmland calculations out of our GIS system into the new system. I don't know how long the tax cycle might get delayed. I'm also fearing a huge amount of complaints. On average, not everybody, but on average, I'm thinking Paris Township's gonna see a 5% increase. So we've had a huge increase, and we'll have a lot of unhappy people on Jasper Street, but with all the sales and the growth out there, we've had to bump up values there. We've seen a lot of interest in lakefront properties, we've had to bump those up. I fear it'll be an ugly year for complaints, so again, that may add to the delay in the tax cycle. Hopefully, we can publish by the end of January, and then allow a month for complaints, so then it's in February before the complaints end, and then depending on how many, getting the board of review to review all of those, so.
Okay, thank you.
I told you all along, that was the mean office. Told you.
Monty?
We did get a payment from the state, so we're still behind, but we got a payment. At least
Yeah, I
something.
didn't say that, I'm
I know
sorry.
we left that part out. Probation plenty, but we did get a payment, that was good. And probation, following state mandate is e-filing on certain payment requests that were required, and fortunately Angie took many hours of her time to explain to me how to do this, so I am at least somewhat up and running, so I do appreciate it. But we are at least doing as we were supposed to, so that's good. Otherwise, things are good.
Thank you. Tom?
Our Beacon Light contractor anticipates the arrival of all the necessary equipment for the new installation first week of February.
That's good.
So is he mentioned, is he weather limited?
He didn't mention that, but I'm sure there will be weather issues.
Very good.
Sheriff?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay. Mr. Polkey?
Compliment the board for being thoughtful about your sexual harassment policy. I think post Harvey Weinstein, everybody needs to review the policies, and one of the best things we can do as employers to prevent sexual harassment and other forms of adverse working conditions is through prevention. And so that means training staff and having policies in place that are actually followed. And the worst thing you do is develop a policy that you don't follow. So I appreciate you being thoughtful and getting it right. HRC's Director of Continuous Quality Improvement, Jonathan Burns, is our HR guy. He also has specialized training in HR, so I will offer him, with him not knowing, I'll offer him as a resource. You're gonna call out and have questions because of special certifications and human resources. So whatever we can do, we wanna help. If all you need is to ask a few questions or whatever, fine. If there's a way we can assist, we're glad to do that. Because it's a very important topic and very important for our employees to feel safe and that they have resources. In terms of feeling safe and having resources, we feel we're doing a really good job right now meeting the needs of the county's mental health and substance use disorder treatment services. Our open access is working well. Still no waiting list money. Now I was just a couple of weeks ago, after hours, I had an individual in panic come and say, I have court tomorrow, I need services. And open access is not to encourage people to wait the day before their court hearing. But in general, we think it's working well. We're seeing a lot of people without waiting lists. So appreciate that.
Thank you. All good?
On a different note, you'll notice a beige map of the public square. And we're going to answer the question of who owns or who's responsible for snow removal on the sidewalk outside of the limestone wall. And that would be the responsibility of the county. The picture you have in front of you is a result of a survey that was commissioned in 1997 by the Edgar County Board. Obviously, they had the same questions that we are. And as it turns out, this is basically exactly what was surveyed, platted out in 1823. Dina helped me a little bit with this. Thank you, Dina. And so you'll notice the wall, and then on the left side of your document there it says concrete sidewalk, all sides. And there's the outside thick line.
That's the smoking snow shovel right there.
That's gonna be it.
So,
So,
we need to get help for Bob if he has to start cleaning that sidewalk. I mean,
well, that's gonna be up to you guys. You know, Bob works hard around the
You're not
courthouse.
telling me I gotta scoop the snow, are you?
only on the north side.
I don't scoop my own walk. His wife does that, and she'll help you.
Well,
That's not harassment, is it?
Yes.
we've had some complaints that the outside of the wall, the sidewalks, the outer perimeter sidewalks, never get cleaned when there's snow. Now, once you come onto our property, if you will, inside the wall, that's not the issue.
Well, the problem is they don't know what their responsibility is, what do you say?
I would
They
say,
do if they do.
I think in the years that it has been an issue. But I know there's also been some cooperation between the city and the county people. We certainly would accept any assistance we could get from the city. But you know, when the big plows come by and they throw the snow right off your clean sidewalks, that's
Well,
aggravating.
Lately, they used to use that little tractor and run around all the businesses, and I haven't seen that thing out in a while.
Yeah, no. And
So
Bob
I'm
mentioned
wondering
that.
what's going on there.
Yeah. Bob's aware of this, and so I don't know if you want to, buildings and grounds want to visit with him about it or not, but he's aware of it. It's a lot of work for one man, one person.
What would be the problem of having somebody do it, like dirt pour or somebody like that? Couldn't cost that much. Bob did a
That's an
great
option,
job on the
contract it out.
sidewalks inside. I don't think you should have to do the ones outside.
Mr. Clerk, for 10 years, I've messed with it in front of the annex, and I don't mind doing it, but now my body is having a back procedure done earlier last year and this and that. I'm getting slipshod. I think even my cohort over there would. This was discussed the other day. It was one of the topics in the annex. Whose responsibility is it on the public square? because and I know this is gonna bite me, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'd get that walk all cleaned off, and here came said tractor, and it basically made my spot look just like the rest of them, just a path this wide, and so I'm just wanting to know whose responsibility that is. I will now bow out of this conversation.
Sounds a little bitter.
Yeah, was that a question or a gripe?
I'm just saying, clerk, I was venting.
Don't comment, what
I would like to know who's,
That's not our property over there.
I was
Ron.
gonna
say,
Don't put away your
But-
shovel.
that
son.
is the city's there.
Yeah, but you know what? Except for me,
Right, I know.
just have your guy
Just
do
hire
it.
somebody to do it.
Just have your guy do it. I mean,
We'll
our
not
guy
have
do
a
it.
problem.
You know,
It's our building.
As far as the sidewalk, I think the best thing to do is call Dusty and see what he charges to do it.
That's my point.
Yeah,
Just
and
see
I
what it
say-
is, and then
There's a lot of
I'll
people
bring it
that
up.
do
If
it.
it's too much, we'll figure a point.
And talk to Bob and see what he's willing to do,
I already
what
talked to
he's.
Bob this morning.
Okay,
He's not happy.
well,
Imagine. Do we still have a snow blower on our garden
He
tractor?
has to do-
Well, no, it's a separate
It's a
walk,
walk.
standalone.
It's not a
Wow.
line blower, but I think we've got, still got a blade for the lawnmower.
And then that, yeah.
Well, back, you know,
Because years ago, that's what we had up there.
I dealt with this
Roll on.
back when I was sheriff, and back then Billy Maynard, he was the janitor, and
He had to do it all.
yeah.
but he did have a snow blower on the front of the garden tractor. We had, back then we had a John Deere. And unless it really got deep, he always done the outside sidewalk around. But then the problem, when you got a big snow, you know, is too much for that. And back then, the city done a good job for around the square and even a block away. They would come in overnight and it would be all gone. They don't do that anymore.
No, they don't.
And then you got the state highway coming and throwing stuff, you know, it's just an ongoing problem. But I did notice the other day that the sidewalks around the courthouse were clean, but the outside the wall was a mess.
well, I will also say from talking to Bob this summer, there were issues with the blade bracket on the front of the lawnmower, and I'm not so sure for this year to get through the rest of this winter. We're not best off trying to contract with somebody and get it done and get through this winter. And if we want to visit, you know, if we had the proper equipment, one person could do it.
Right.
I'm not sure we have it, and then, you know, then we can look at our options for a full year, but,
Right.
you know, sitting here and not quite halfway through January with the snow predicted, we
Well,
would probably need to get it done and get through the next month.
The
and a
building
half.
committee can discuss this and maybe come up with some idea how to address it for next year on an annual basis, especially the outside, you know. We bought the walk behind snow blower, and that's probably good for the inner circle, but it's probably too much. The outside's probably too much, depending on how much snow you get.
Right.
So I think we can get something worked out, because it has been an ongoing problem forever.
You knew the public square wasn't square.
Just go talk to him.
I will continue to make the effort at my place, at our place, but it just won't be up to the quality of level that I've done, so. But then the question was, if you make an effort and somebody slip and falls, then are you more liable?
No.
It's just crazy.
Geez, you're not a happy camper. What's the matter?
There's something to be said.
Anything else, Augie?
No, that's all I have.
Ain't that pitiful?
Mr. Bruner?
We had our animal shelter meeting yesterday, and you remember last year, our free food ran out. So Andrew says she has enough donations to last probably halfway through this year. But we did put extra money in the budget for our food, so we're in pretty good shape, really.
So is that the individual donor, or is that a
But-
separate?
So much last year,
You said you had 6 months worth of food
that's
donated.
2 individual donors that donated money, and some people donated actual food. So she says she has enough probably for, a third to half of the year. And then we did put extra money in our budget. We'll hopefully get more donations too.
North American Lighting donated a pretty good chunk.
Right. And then there's another
Yeah. And then another anonymous, she said they wouldn't say who they were, but they gave her some money too, so.
I think they're pretty good shape.
Look at better it was.
Yeah.
Right. She also still has her knee problem, and there's some problems with that.
Called,
Yeah, but workman's comp doesn't want to pay to have knee fixed, so.
I don't know who she was talking to, because I called, talked to Austin yesterday about it, and he said, we don't have anything filed with the insurance, so he said, I gave him her number, and said, call and talk to her about it, so I think he talked like that, it shouldn't be a problem at all.
She's still working, she hasn't missed a day of work.
Missed a day of work since.
So, other than that,
All right, Andy?
I got a few things. I got contacted by a guy that comes in and does like somewhat of an energy audit of a building. And I said, well, my primary concern is the courthouse. But I guess there was it would be a state law, legislature passed a law that said they would give certain companies the ability to come in, do an audit, and when they get done with this energy audit, they will make suggestions of what you can do to increase your energy efficiency in a building, and it has to be budget neutral. I'm still working out some of the particulars with him, but it's if they make suggestions and you put stuff like you go in and put new air conditioners in, and it doesn't show the savings that they told you that it would save, then it's on the backs of the company that they send in to make up the difference. So in other words, you don't have someone come in and sell you a bill of goods and say, you know, if you put all new air conditioners, you'll save this much money, and then you don't realize those savings, then it actually goes back on the company to pay for the difference in what you did save and what they told you you'd save. It costs us nothing to have this done. I said, yeah, come on down. I'll walk through you and you can tell me what you think would be a good suggestion for making the place more efficient. That's lighting, HVAC, basically. So
Is this a private company?
it's a private company, but the state only allows, you have to go through a process in order to be one of these contractors that will do it, to keep contractors that will tell you something and not, they'll say, well, you can save this amount of money, and if it doesn't happen, then he says, we're apprehensive to tell you, here's what you need to do if we don't think it will actually pan out, because we're the ones who have to pay for it. So, I mean, it costs nothing. He's gonna come down, he's gonna have it this Monday, but I guess I'm gonna have it next Monday come down. And we're gonna walk through it. Once he gives me the information, they'll do an assessment, and I'll just let you know what he finds out.
Yeah. Well, I know we had energy audits done out the county highway, and they got grants for that and got a lot of work done out there with grant money, and we had them come out to the airport 3 or 4 years ago, and they did an audit out there. And then we done some further checking, and they said, well, that audit is already outdated, so you're gonna have to have a new one done. And
He said if anybody else, any other department wants to have him come out and look, like I said, it costs nothing. I'll make suggestions. If you do it, okay. If you don't, but he said all of his what suggestions they make are budget neutral, and I need to find out exactly what that is. It budget neutral meaning
Over 75 years.
Right. That's what I need to find out.
Yeah.
But short of spending hours on the phone with him, I said, he said it costs nothing to have us come down. I said, well, come down. I'll talk to me. Tell me what you can do. So he's coming down the next couple of weeks. I've looked over, I got the report from West Janny and Elston on the courthouse, some different things that need to be done. And while stuff needs to be done, we need to prepare ourselves to spend some money on the courthouse. I mean, he gave us immediate things that need to be done. And these are difficult because some of these things that need to be done immediately can be more cost effective if you do them in conjunction with things that need to be done later. So while I've gone through the whole thing, I mean, something.
Those are your notes from the document that you had.
Yeah. So I've just kind of gone through, I mean, you're looking at probably, I don't know, when you, like, the iron beams under the porches. I don't know if you've noticed all the porches. The last step has really gotten big, but I assumed it was because of settling, but it's not. It's actually because the spalling of the beam underneath has pushed the step up. So that, and you run into some problems because it says 5,000 to 25,000. So there's a big variance in there to figure out what's, but part of it is you can't get, you can only get under one of those porches. The rest of them, you can get under them, and we're gonna have to get under them to see what's going on under there, but it's, I think some of them are blocked up to where you can't get under there very easy, but at some point we're gonna have to.
Hey, Jimmy Hoffa, cool.
Yeah. But I wanna go, it's much more complicated than just saying, okay, we need to spend X amount this year and X amount this year. Just be prepared to spend X amount.
5 to 25 was all four.
Say that again.
5 to 25,000 was
Was
the
all
estimate
four.
for all four. Did they say what they do?
I'm assuming what the person has to do is jack, and I say jack it up, not move it much, but jack it up to support it. Take out the mortar and things that are holding it, put a new beam in there, remortar it in there, and then let it back out on it. It's kind of like that.
Can I make a request? Can we schedule a Buildings and Grounds Committee sometime to go over that report? Because I haven't read through it as thoroughly as I should, but I have glanced through it, and, you know, I think the three of us sitting with the report and looking at it and talking about it, we might get a better handle on things.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Was that the highest priority that they gave you, was the beams?
That was one of the high priority. I mean, there's some stones that cracked, spalled, and if you got this, did you all get a copy of that?
Yeah, I did.
Because I sent it to Augie and had him send it around.
That was a digital copy.
Yeah.
I got a paper copy.
Yeah, you got a paper copy.
Yeah, actually,
I'm
the one you
special.
have. Well, you're special.
And there's places where, I don't know if you'll look at the tops of the stone rails that are going up the steps, there's a big separation that needs to be fixed so that you don't get water sitting on there, dripping down, freezing, cracking that, making it worse. So there's some things that need to be done this year that have to be done this year. And then some other medium term, and then there's also the roof. It's basically 450 to 500,000 for the roof, which is actually better than what I thought. But that's not all the roof. There's different sections of that roof up there that need to be done. There's actually some asphalt roof that's at the base of the bell tower, and it needs replaced now. And to the tune of, I think it was, 25,000. And I think part of what makes that so difficult to do is it's so far up there. It's difficult, but more of these figures I want to go over a little more before
Just what's going through my head is, you know, as you tack on some of these high priority jobs that are smaller by themselves, we're already racking up a big bill beyond what we could probably throw into it for any given year under normal circumstances, right?
Right.
So that combined with a big project being the roof, combined with my expectation that interest rates are gonna continue up, should we be taking a hard look at a more holistic approach with some sort of funding outside of the normal route?
Real possible. Some of this stuff is going to be expensive.
Because if you can take the top 2/3 or everything that leads up to the roof in priority, maybe and a few beyond that, whatever makes sense, packages the whole deal, and then try to get some sort of 20-year funding at current rates. That may be the best way to get this done.
I know that there are, I hate using, I don't know, USDA loans, low interest loans out there.
Even better.
Yeah, that, I think at the time we were looking at, when we got the grant for the,
The USDA, we don't have to have like sheep on the lawn, but
Right.
grow some corn or some sorghum. Okay.
but they were, I believe like 2% or something.
Awesome.
So that
How
might be
big do
something.
they go?
But there, you can go up to the millions with the USDA grants.
Payable over
Oh, they make it, yeah.
like 20.
I remember
30 years.
looking into that, and at the time she mentioned that, but, yeah.
I mean, that'd be worth some filling out, like the paint train you went through. It would be
Well,
worth it.
the
if-
thing is, if you do it pretty quick, some of those stuff we already did would probably apply, like the courthouse assessment. and
I mean,
different
to
things.
me, if you could schedule that debt, let's say we can do the 2% from the USDA and have an annual cost that is somewhere in the neighborhood of what one of these projects would be and get it all knocked out in a reasonable amount of time under these good rates, definitely worth
I mean, there's,
considering.
what I ideally would like to do is look at the entire thing. I mean, the elevator needs done. I mean, we're one
Remember
bar,
that?
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that needs done that
One of these days,
I don't
guys
want
will
to
get trapped.
continue to come back to the trough. You know,
Yeah.
because people think, I know when we said, well, you know, the roof's bad, they said, well, I thought we fixed all that. No, we did the bell tower, we didn't do the roof under the bell tower. So, I think you need to have it comprehensive, go through, get everything done, and don't keep coming to the trough, say, oh, we need more money, we need more money. So.
Well, and I think that, you know, whatever we have budgeted for upkeep, some of that would be mitigated down the road by a kind of major overhaul, and we
Yes.
can kind of make that make sense with the budget. Through an accrual system, of course.
Hey Dina, the Jasper Street revaluation, that's not gonna give us an extra $5 million a year to work with the
Not
ordinance.
when it's fully tipped.
Okay, darn.
Good shot, too.
Anything else, Andy?
No,
Okay.
enough good news for today.
Bloom and boom.
Coach?
No.
John?
Nothing.
Derek?
So Tom, fill us in on the beacon, that's good news. I talked to Alan Malachnik at IDOT this morning, hoping for some sort of information or heads up from the FAA. He said that he had sent them some information that they had requested prior to the holidays, and he would get back with them today, so hopefully we'll get an update in the very near future on whether or not we can move forward with our airport project. That was the one that was started before I was here, if anybody needed an update, that's it.
Okay. Sheriff, have you heard any more on your USDA on the squad cars? What's the status on it?
We're just trying to decide what, I mean, they pretty much gave us a go-ahead, I'm just trying to
Okay,
get it boiled down to which cards we're gonna get.
okay. So, I mean, all the paperwork was submitted and
Yeah.
it's just a matter of you making that decision? I mean, are they waiting on that decision to give us the money or?
Yeah, she said, you know, when we get them ordered, let her know, I've got to send her an email when we get them ordered. And then she would have the money sitting there so that when I mean, they won't send us the money today, so
Right.
it's sitting here, so, like, when they come in at the dealership,
Right.
I'll let them know, and she'll either bring me a check, or they'll have the money wired, you know, they've got our account number to
Right.
put it in, so.
So they'll be paying for one of them and the county pays for the other one?
Right.
Yeah, okay, all right. Anything else from anybody? If not, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Were we going to go into closed session for real
Oh.
estate or?
Probably should,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, I guess I missed that on the agenda.
It just says,
Closed session. Motion to go into closed session and state the purpose.
Real estate acquisition
land acquisition.
and land acquisition, yeah.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Right.
Opposed, nay? Okay, we'll go into closed session then, thank you.
Talk to Jeff.
Okay, we're back in regular session.
Okay, back in regular session, is there anything that needs to come before the board before we finish? Motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
We're adjourned.